Yesterday, we just finished portaging 4 miles through the rain to get across the Fort Peck Dam. Before that portage was 24 miles of hard paddling into brisk winds, and we were dog-tired from it. I picked up my resupply at the marina and then started the hike across the dam, which took a little more than 2 hours, and we rewarded ourselves by going to the bar for hot food after that. In the rush to get burgers and drinks, I forgot to fill the water jugs, which I had intended to do up at the bar. So this morning, we had to take the hike back across the bridge to find a trailer court with a water pump that wasn't locked, and then start filling up the jugs for the rest of our journey. In the process, we woke up about 14 dogs that were all sticking their nasty heads through the fence and barking at us, so we had to get out.
Got Dan. Right here. Nice find.
Find of the day. Probably of the whole trip.
You gonna keep it?
Yeah.
I'm enjoying the unseasonable sun and how summer is extending a little longer than maybe I was expecting it to. I know that winter's coming. I know I'm going to be paddling through some cold weather, but I appreciate that these days are still warm enough to swim in, that winter's holding off for a little bit longer. I also appreciated more than anything that we were finally off of that lake, and we were pretty sore from it too. I mean, yesterday we had to fight all of that wind and the rain, and then of course the 4-mile portage as the water bucketed down on us and filled our canoe by the gallon. But today we had current to push us along, and even though we didn't make the miles, we saw the horses hanging out beside the river, and I got a pretty good shot of them, even with us in the background. And it was good traveling through this last week or so of eastern Montana to just be cruising along at river speed, to stretch and rest my sore muscles and then look under the canoe and see that we were still moving. This last stretch of Montana from the Fort Peck Dam all the way to the North Dakota border and then Williston is the last with sustained current before I get into the Dakotas and the dammed upper Mississippi proper. All the water there is choked into reservoirs and stopped dead. So the miles ahead will more be still water, open water, and the storms and wind that hinder my progress. Plus, I think the rivers are just outright better traveling than the lakes, because the rivers bend and weave, and they have little sloughs that come off like strands in a braid, and every slough and every strand of the braid is different than the last one. The channel of the river is pretty narrow overall, and you can't see for miles and miles, unlike on the lake. On the lake, we were pretty much fixing our gaze on a point ahead and then paddling towards it for hours, then fixing on the next point and repeating all over again. We pulled up on the bank around dark and gathered a pile of beaver-chewed branches to have a big fire before going to bed that night.
Well, that's good.
It was a chilly morning as we packed up the canoe and prepared to paddle past the biggest town we would be paddling past on the Sioux Indian Reservation, Wolf Point. Although I had originally made plans to stop there and get a few things, many people warned me not to. Also, the book I'm reading about the Missouri River warned me not to stop there either. We made an exception to go up this boat ramp and dump all our trash at a dumpster, and then go try and find some water to top off the jugs. Instead of getting water from the pumps in the park, I got a cactus stuck into my foot for my efforts. Shame on me for not wearing my wet shoes, and for thinking that even though there were 2 pumps in the park, that at least one of them would be working. The other one was shut off as well, so we got out of there. Technically, we were supposed to get permission from the Sioux Nation to be on their land, so we avoided camping on that side of the river and avoided being on that side of the river entirely because we just didn't want the trouble and I didn't have the permission. We stopped for lunch instead on the other side. I busted out my noodles, Dan had some peanut butter and jelly, and we cooked them up, took a break from the heat of the day, and then got back on the river. By now, I've traveled more than 600 miles down these waters, and all of it has been in Montana. At this point, I was ready to be out of this state because it felt like my progress was hindered by not crossing a state line. North Dakota was coming up fast. We'd be there in the next couple of days, and if I could just stroke my paddle all day long, I knew eventually, inch by inch, we would get to that state boundary. Even with that goal so close, though, it doesn't make the work any easier. I just have to paddle over and over and over again, pulling about a meter of water towards me, stroke after stroke. Sometimes I count the strokes up to 100, but sometimes I lose count on purpose so that I can go back to the small numbers and it'll feel like a fresh start.
What's your name?
Robbie.
Robbie?
Yeah.
Good to meet you, man. I'm Jake. This is Dan.
It's a long game. They're good.
They are, dude. You got the big boy, too.
Yeah.
Nice catch.
Yeah. No, we're just cruising.
Yeah.
You guys got your tents and everything in there?
Yeah, we got tents. We got enough water to get to Culbertson, and we got like a drone to take like shots of like the river and stuff.
I grew up on this river,
Yeah.
so I know how to navigate it really good.
Are you from Wolf Point or Poplar?
Poplar or Brockton, but I live in Poplar.
Nice.
You guys are like, these guys must be local.
No, man. We're the furthest thing from local. We're both from Michigan.
Oh, you're from Michigan?
Yeah, we're brothers.
Are you?
Yeah, dude. But I'm so ready to be on to like the next state. Honestly, we've been in Montana so long. I'm like, all right.
Yeah,
We
got a ways to go in Montana.
I know, but like I can almost smell North Dakota from here, man. It's only like 5 more days, and then we'll be out of here. I see you got a rifle on your boat.
Yeah.
Do you do the same? You hunt them from your boat?
Yeah. I usually do it during the rut. I just shoot beavers right now.
Yeah. Do you keep them? Do you eat them, or just take the pelt?
Just shoot them.
Just kill them?
They knocked out all kinds of trees.
I know it, man. Yeah, there's nothing they like doing more than knocking down trees. Everything, dude. Like, there's nothing that escapes them.
And there's some massive ones that we saw.
Yeah, dude.
The size of like German shepherds.
All right, good luck.
All right, well, thank you.
Thanks, Robbie.
Safe.
Will do.
Appreciate the White Claw. We talked with Robbie for a little bit. He's the only boat we've seen on the river this whole time. And I had cell service, so I called Dottie and talked to her for a little bit too. Then we came up on a cow pasture and I started talking to the cows. You never know which ones are going to ignore you and which ones are going to freak out and then start running and start a whole stampede. This one didn't care. We only had a few shallows to get through, which really is just a very minor hazard and much better than paddling through a lake, so I don't mind dragging it over a sandbar here and there. Considering the stop to dump trash, the search for water, stepping on a cactus, talking with Robbie, calling Dottie, and talking with the cows, we still ended up making pretty decent mileage today. And we made a camp on an island, sort of a sandbar out in the middle of the river that was no man's land. Not on the reservation or on the cow pasture. Instead of choosing what to have for dinner, we left it up to chance by Dan sticking his hand in the backpack, and I'm telling him when to stop to see which one we pull that night.
Tell me when.
Now, what'd we get?
Beef stroganoff with noodles.
All right.
Oh, how we love the wind. At least when it's blowing in our favor, and today it was. It was behind us all day long. It was a strong gust at first, and Dan threw the sail up, and we left it up for as far as we could to get down the river and hustle our way over to North Dakota. As much as I didn't want to waste the wind, there was one stop we needed to make because we were getting dangerously low on water. And obviously we can't drink the stuff in the river with all the sediment and heavy metals and whatnot, so I needed to take a side trip into town to grab some.
I got it.
There wasn't an official boat access in this area, no ramp or beach or anything, so we got into this really scrubby, thorny stuff, and I had to hike it in from there, marking my way as I went so I didn't get lost when I came back. I checked the map at the first one. I was coming into an open area and I wanted to make sure I was still on the right route, so I flipped a log so that I would know where to turn to get back to Dan in the canoe. When I made it to a 2-track road, I wanted to know when to go back onto it, so I found this straw on the ground and then stuck it on a branch. I wanted my markings to be subtle, not because I thought anyone was going to try and retrace my steps to find Dan, but because it's a good habit to be in to cover your tracks.
Hello.
Hi.
How you doing?
Real good. How are you?
I just came to town looking for some water. Do you know a place I can fill this thing up?
Yeah, I got a place in the back. So how's your day going?
Oh, it's better now.
Good.
How about yours?
Mine is going good.
After this nice lady topped off our water jug, I was free and clear to go back to the river and catch some more of that wind. So I retraced my steps down the 2-track road, turning at the straw and then putting it back on the ground where I found it as I went, and then doing the same with the log, putting it back on the line it had been sitting on. Like I said, I didn't think anyone was looking for us, but by the time I find myself in a scenario where somebody is, I already want to be good at covering my tracks.
Where you at?
I still have to get better at retracing my steps, especially in this scrub willow where everything looks the same.
All done.
I even cooked lunch in the canoe so that we wouldn't have to stop, capturing the wind the whole time. I cooked Daniel's lunch first, and then he took a break to eat while I paddled. And then I cooked my lunch, and then I took a break to eat while he paddled.
Nice, man.
I'll see too many wolves.
You never will, till it's too late.
The miles of this river were a lot like the ones before it. Some beaver lodges, birds flying overhead, geese making a big fuss when we get too close and then take off, and then the deer that look up at us from the shore and then bound off effortlessly when we get close to them too. Even this late in the year, it's still warm enough to swim, and it's a good thing to do too, especially in the late afternoon when you get really tired and worn out from sitting around in the canoe and paddling all day. That cold water really brings your energy back. And these riverlands beside the Fort Peck Indian Reservation out here on the Great Plains of eastern Montana were one that I was really falling in love with. Groves of cottonwood trees just getting ready to fall into the river as it's getting undercut and eroded away. The shapes of coulees on the side and the tight bends that restrict your view to only what's right in front of you, and the many ribbons coming off of the side built and maintained by the tireless beavers. It was a privilege to be standing here and enjoying it on this little island where we took our swim call, but we needed to travel, so we got back out on the river, threw up the sail, and kept catching miles until late that night.
Not as deep as I thought it was.
A soft, low-lying island presented itself right after sunset, so that's the one that we took. And I think it was a nice spot, too.
You like to see me struggle?
You want help?
This Great Plains landscape is really easy on the eye, but a total mystery and conundrum for me. I like the bird's eye view I can get of it with the drone. I like flying above these hills and just marveling at how they were formed, or just how they look compared to the flat lands right beside them. Like, how did this happen? How was all this created? Why are some of them so upright with flat tops and these intricate sidewalls, while right beside them is just a wide open field of corn or wheat, or the river, of course, right below? I think what's also cool is there's no real demarcation between the mountains and the plains. It just slowly happened. They just slowly receded into flatter and flatter ground, and then the hills that were beside the mountains out on the front range turned into something different. And now it's what I've been seeing for days and days as I moved across eastern Montana, is the landscape that I was looking at on this night. Another half hour in the river and we would have made 50 miles, but I'm very happy with the distance that we did make. I know the tailwind helped tremendously, and it's the farthest I've ever gone in a single day on this expedition. The lunch spot the next day was definitely one of the most comfortable we've ever had. There was this random picnic table on the side of the river, and a rope swing too. At first I thought it was a fishing access site or a park or something because it had a boat ramp and everything, but we saw a posted sign on the way out for no trespassing, and sorry about that one. Don't worry, we didn't leave a mess.
That's the first pump jack we've seen on this river. And now that we're coming into North Dakota, coming into the patch, the oil patch, I imagine we're going to see a lot more, but that is the first one. Also, we made it to Central Time. And that's 2 time zones down, Mountain and Pacific Time. And now we're just crossing the line into Central Time. My phone's glitching out. It keeps jumping back and forth between 2 and 3 p.m. And we will, in about 6 miles, be at the North Dakota state line. So this is the Snowden Bridge. I don't think they use it anymore to pick up the span, but these 2 towers have the counterweights that weigh the same thing as the span. And then I believe that is the motor to start the counterweights going. And then these counterweights go down and the span goes up, and then your boat can sail underneath. Definitely a cool piece of engineering that we're passing under right now. There's a faint line of a trail with tall grass and scrub willow that leads down to the river and back to Fort Union, a historical trading post that's right on the North Dakota-Montana state boundary.
Even got the river on the sign, dude. Nice.
At 1,360 miles on foot and in the canoe, Montana was definitely the biggest state that I had to cross on this journey. It took me 59 days to get across this pig. It was very challenging too. I had some pretty tough weather, wildlife encounters, rugged terrain, and just the loneliness of being out there in the big wilds of Montana, both the east and west side of it. I know North Dakota is going to have its own challenges, but I was thrilled to get here, man. Thrilled. We paddled a little bit further that night to make it to the confluence with the Yellowstone River and camped there. Obviously a late start here at camp, but we had all these facilities to charge everything up last night and some water and some internet service, so I built out my next grocery order to pick up in Williston, and then arranging the last few details for Dan to get to his train. And we busted out the portage wheels to come up to this pavilion where we could like cook and stuff for the night, but that light we did not notice, and that thing was burning all night long, so it was weird. It was like daylight inside my tent, but we're getting out of here now. Just like 2 days ago, the tailwind came to our rescue today. Even though we got a late start, we had a really stout wind behind us, putting a lot of tension on the line and filling up the sail. So we were able to really cook down this patch of river to get our last 35 miles done to Williston.
7.5 miles per hour average.
Not bad.
I knew I was going to miss Dan as soon as he got on that train. The whole week leading up to Williston, I kept telling him, you know, man, I can make a change at no charge. You can stay with me for another week to Bismarck and go home from there. But I think he was happy with the time that he had out here and didn't want to add on to it. He had other stuff going on back in Michigan. And by the time we got to Williston, he'd be with me for 552 miles and most of the month of September. So I think he was ready to head home. Plus, we're getting a little thin on food.
Hey Dan, what do you want for lunch? Do you want a jar of Parmesan garlic pasta sauce or a bag of raisins?
I'll take water.
Water? Okay.
We made quick work of the rest of the miles, mostly because of the wind, but also because of the current under the river, which I would soon be losing when I got onto Lake Secaucus after Williston. But that was something Dan didn't have to worry about. We got to the Highway 85 bridge, went up on the boat ramp, and tried to order a pizza, but they sadly wouldn't deliver all the way to the boat ramp, so we headed out.
Let's just paddle out to the middle of the river, Dan.
We had plans to paddle up a slough to get to a pizza restaurant, but when we got there, we were in for a big surprise. The slough was no longer there.
All right, so this is the creek that we're going to paddle up to town to catch the train. What did we learn today, Dan?
You know, double check, keep an eye on the maps.
Yeah. Well, he did. He looked at the map, and this is a blue line, but it is it's very dry water in this area. As you can see, it has some grass growing on the water, and there's some sticks where the water used to be, and we can't really paddle this water because it's technically sand, so we're gonna hike it instead.
We pulled the canoe into the little pond, which was all that was left of the slough, and then set up our stuff and started heading towards town. Now that we'd made it to Williston, Daniel's work in this canoe was totally done.
Give me 5, Dan.
We walked the sandy riverbed, the levee, a big grassy field, 3 railroad tracks, and then crossed a creek to get to a Culver's. A proper meal was the best way I could thank Dan for his help out here. And then the real side quest began. Yes, the first one was to get to Culver's, and then the next one was when we met this gentleman at a gas station the next morning while I was getting my Walmart order. Turns out he lives in the next town over from our sister. He invited us back to his place to have a shower before Dan got on his train, and some food too. He took us down to the Army Corps of Engineers office, and things started getting real interesting from there on out.
Mark, the guy that we met at the gas station, dropped us off at the gate, or he took us to the gate and it was locked, and then the guy came out and he's like, "Can I help you guys?" And we're like, "Well, actually, yeah, we're trying to get like 3 miles down the levee, but we don't want to hike with this 150 pounds of food we just got from town." And he gave us a ride on the side-by-side, like, even though it's like it's a government facility and it's got all the signs up there, you're not supposed to drive back here or whatever. He's like, "Well, you can hike back there." And I'm like, "Yeah, but I got all this junk to carry." And so he gave us a ride, which was great. Huge score, right, Dan?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so we still are carrying all this stuff on the what used to be the river, but the water's pretty dry right now, as you can see. I mean, look how dry this water is. So we can't paddle on it, and we're hiking the last half mile to the river proper, but man, it saved us a huge amount of labor.
I put all the food inside of my tent to keep it dry in case the rain kicked up, and then we took the 2 empty bags to go meet Dad at the train station, which meant walking back down the dry riverbed, over the levee, and then meeting an Uber at the gas station to take us the rest of the way.
How you doing?
Elk antlers, or was that deer antlers?
That was deer antlers.
Over at the Amtrak station, we got comfortable in the waiting room and then printed off Dan's ticket for when he would be going, waiting for Dad's train to arrive on its delayed track from Chicago.
Hey guys.
How you doing?
27 hours on a train.
Nice. Nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'd rather have it 20.
You got a lot of reading done, right?
Yeah.
He brought a lot of stuff. And the train's pretty liberal about how much baggage you can bring on with you, but we did not have the space for it, so we sorted it into 2 piles. Food and gear he would absolutely need, and the stuff that we would be sending back with Dan that he didn't need. This included 2 extra tackle boxes, several extra pair of pants, shirts, and socks, walkie-talkies, a cooler, towels, and a bunch of other junk. We just didn't have the space for it, so Dan had to carry it back with him on the train.
You got all that, Dan?
Coming back?
Yeah. Just want to say goodbye to you.
Bye, man.
Love you. I guess so. Walk over to that guy with the blue shirt.
When it was all said and done, Daniel had been paddling with me for most of September and 552 miles, which is almost a quarter of the river, and truth be told, I had a really good time with him, and he was really capable of doing the hard work, of getting us down the river day after day regardless of the weather. And even though he said he was excited to be living inside again once he got home, I really hope that he misses this place enough to come back out.
Dust you off in an old analog style. Guess that's how it's always been, or at least for a long while.